and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking about the top 10 scary online dating stories. Now I'm not sure that I have many, but I did go on a date with a guy once that I met on the internet who lent me a book about a guy that kills a girl that he's obsessed with, so I was like, probably don't know how I feel about him. Not good. Not good. Do you guys have any awful dating stories? Please let me know in the comment section down below. I live for this. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below, and also while you're there, why don't you like this video, share it with a friend, and stay subscribed for more most amazing lists. Also, if you want to connect with me on social media, there is a link to my Instagram in the description box. So we kind of started this list like lighthearted and jovial, but actually most of it's pretty awful, so do get ready. Number 10's awful, but I have to say the rest of them are worst. Coming into number 10, we have the BUMBLE tumble. A lot of people are afraid of dating because they think that the guy or the girl will dislike them, and also dating can be expensive. Well, with that in mind, this poor girl's Bumble date was so awful it probably put her off dating for the rest of her life. So 28-year-old Ryan Miller had a date in Huntington Beach, California in September 2018, very recently. She met a guy and she thought that, you know what, she's just gonna have a drink, they're gonna get to know each other. She sipped on one beer, and her date, a 38-year-old named Brandon, drank 3 beers and ordered a steak. Fine. She wasn't really enjoying the date though, and at one point Brandon even asked if he was behaving like an a-hole, to which she sheepishly agreed that he was. He was being rude to the server, he was just rude. I get it, you're hungry, but do you need to order a steak, or your date's just sipping on one drink? I don't know. Anyway, he got up to use the washroom and she pulled out her phone to text her friends. Soon though, she got a text from him that read, "Thanks for dinner, hard no, welcome to Cali, fatty." She replied saying, "Are you serious?" It turns out that actually he was. He'd left her with the check. What a real a-hole. Okay, we have some real horror from here on out. Coming in at number 9, we have 65,000 texts for her soulmate. Do you know, I'm not even sure if I believe in soulmates these days, and this stresses me out. You meet a guy or a gal on Tinder and the worst you expect is a bad date. The best, well, that's open to interpretation depending on what you're after, but hopefully another date or a series of good dates. You would hope that if the chemistry isn't felt, you can both just be respectful about that, but apparently not. In May 2018, Jacqueline Addis of Arizona was arrested for stalking and harassing a man she met online. The 31-year-old met the man on a dating website and soon started visiting his home and flooding his inbox with tens of thousands of texts. She claimed he was her soulmate.
I love him. L equals 3.3 times E equals MC squared, and that's the equation of eternal love.
When the messages started getting threatening, he called the police. One of the messages read, "Oh, what I would do with your blood, I want to bathe in it."
When you're finding love, not everything is perfect.
She was eventually arrested when she broke into his home and was found taking a bath in his tub. When questioned by police, she told them she was his wife. Another stalker after an online date. At number 8, we have a true Tinder terror. You meet a guy online and he stabs you 11 times, something he's been planning for a while. In 2017, a man was killed at the end of a 100-mile chase on Australia's east coast. Dr. Angela J had been seeing a 36-year-old Paul Lambert for 2 months, but after that time, she decided she didn't really want to further the relationship. There's a good way to take that involves respect for a human and their decision making, and well, there's the way Paul took that. Andrew had already started applying for a restraining order when Paul broke in and stabbed her 11 times. He then doused her in gasoline as she tried to escape. Now luckily, she did manage to flee and get neighbours to call for help. Police then tried to catch the fleeing maniac. Paul Lambert was shot dead after a lengthy car chase. Coming in at number 7, we have the fake singer. In 2011, David Russell from the UK pretended to be the frontman Oliver Skies from the band Bring Me the Horizon. He did this in order to lure 19-year-old Maricar Benedicto from California to Northampton. When she arrived, he took her to a forest that he said held special childhood memories, and he then slit her throat. The 20-year-old blindfolded the girl, having googled how to kill a person the day before. She jumped up after she felt the knife meet her neck, and then he stabbed her in the back several times before hitting her with a log. Miraculously, the girl did survive the ordeal and managed to escape. Now, the whole situation was basically my mum's worst fear about online people come true. Clearly, people aren't always who they say they are, and the waters do get pretty murky online. Coming into number 6, we have the Tinder dissolver. Oh, this is so grim. This has some kind of Breaking Bad meets Bachelor horror story vibe, but sadly, it's the real life. 26-year-old Francia Ruth Ibarra and Emmanuel Delaney Valdez began dating in October 2016 after meeting in Mexico City. These guys met on Tinder, and by Christmas, Francia was dead. The pair dated for a short while and they kept a low profile as a couple. On the 3rd of December 2016, Francia got ready for a date with her Tinder fling, not knowing it would be her last outing ever. Police found the woman's bones on Emmanuel's apartment balcony a couple of weeks after she went missing. The police were then led to believe that Emmanuel was behind the girl's murder, suspecting that he dissolved her body in hydrochloric acid. The news article I read about his arrest said that he was indifferent to his capture. Coming into number 5, we have the Seattle SICKO. It is heartbreaking the way some people have clearly abused the online dating culture to pose as someone legit and above board. I guess online dating cuts out initial first impressions. When you meet someone for the first time in real life, you can tell if they're a bit off. Anyway, poor Ingrid Lynn, a mum from Seattle, was trying to find a man to make her happy and take her out, when unfortunately she found John Robert Carlton, a man with a history of violence whose family had filed a restraining order against him in 2006. The pair met online and went on a handful of dates in early 2016. Sadly, after her ex-husband reported her missing, they found her head, arm, leg and foot in a homeowner's recycling bin. When officers arrested John, he had scratches all over his body. When he was being questioned, he said that he went to a ball game and got so drunk that when they returned to her home, he couldn't remember what happened. Officers think that he killed her in the bathtub and then chopped her up. What a gent. Coming into number 4, we have the Tinder death drop. What led to Warrenna Wright taking a tumble off a balcony on the Gold Coast of New Zealand in 2014? Sadly, we don't know the answer to that question, but the events unfolded after a Tinder date went horribly wrong. Warrenna and self-confessed ladies man Gable Toasty swiped each other on Tinder and decided to meet in real life. The date was going well. Warrenna ended up going back to Gable's Gold Coast apartment where they drank whilst listening to music. The pair took a selfie together, although it does look like she's pretty intoxicated. It's unclear what happened between the moments of the selfie being taken and the moment the 26-year-old woman hit the ground beneath his 14th floor apartment, but it seems the pair got into some kind of argument. Gable made an audio recording on his phone asking Warrenna to leave, threatening to throw her off his balcony. From what we can determine from the recording, the woman is distressed and hysterical. Gable seemed to threaten to lock her on his balcony, and it seems anyway that Warrenna tried to climb down to her freedom, but instead fell to her death. Now, what could have happened between them to lead to this happening? Gable was arrested for murder, but was cleared. The case was reopened in December 2016. Coming into number 3, we have the devil of dating. In July of 2018, Daniel Drayton of New Haven, Connecticut was arrested on suspicion of rape and murder. It seems that the man in his late 20s was using online dating as a way of selecting his victims. Daniel came to the attention of the NYPD when they were investigating the murder of 29-year-old Samantha Stewart in Queens, New York. Her body was discovered by her brother on July 17th of 2018. The man was also linked to a rape in Brooklyn weeks before. Later, Drayton was found holding a 28-year-old captive in Los Angeles following a date arranged online. It seems that the man had a history of violence and is now facing 23 years to life for his crimes. Coming into number 2, we have The Trap. Friends of Johnny Altinger were initially concerned about his blind date ahead of the Thanksgiving long weekend in 2008. Why? Well, the woman wouldn't give him a proper address to meet him at, instead instructing him to meet him at a back alley garage in a quiet part of Edmonton. Soon his friends were worried when he didn't show up for Thanksgiving plans. Soon they got an email, purportedly from Johnny, that read, "I've met an extraordinary woman named Jen who has offered to take me on a nice long tropical vacation. We'll be staying staying at her winter home in Costa Rica. Phone number to follow soon. See you guys around for the holidays. Johnny. His friends were suspicious as the email wasn't in his tone at all. Over the next week, his friends became even more concerned, so they broke into his home, where they found his passport was very much still there. This is when Johnny's boss got an email saying he was quitting. Enough was enough, and the police were called to investigate. It turns out that Johnny was lured by an amateur filmmaker who was not a woman at all, but a man named Mark Twitchell. Twitchell had written a script about a married man who uses the internet to meet a woman, but when he goes to meet her, he's attacked by a masked killer. Police believe that this is what happened to Johnny, and when his remains were discovered, unfortunately this was confirmed. Police also discovered that Twitchell had used the Plenty of Fish dating website to try and attack another man who luckily escaped with his life. Okay, this has been far too intense, so I just really want to end on something scary but funny, because sometimes the two do come together. This is one of the scariest online dating stories I've ever heard, but honestly, just one of my favourite stories ever. Ladies and gentlemen, behold the Tinder poo story. Okay, this would be terrifying if it happened to you. Luckily, all involved seem to have a good sense of humour. So I just want to paint the picture for you. Imagine this. You've got a date. You're excited. You end up meeting the person. You hit it off. You go back to their house and you talk even more and, you know, whatever, like nature calls, and you already have to face the fear of pooping in a new place, which, for me, anxiety. But you know what? You get over it. It's just going to be a blip in your evening. You got to do your business. You've done it. You're flushing. You're getting ready to go back out to your awesome date. At this point, the worst thing on your mind is that maybe they'll smell it and you aren't ready for that kind of intimacy. But oh no, it isn't flushing. You try again and again and again and again and again, and the maddening fear takes over, and you know you just can't leave it there for your date to see and smell, so you pluck it out of the toilet and wrap it in a tissue and you plan on throwing it away, only you realise there's no bin. Then you spot the window. Could you? Should you? What other choice do you really have right now when your poo is in your hand? You've already taken a really long time and you need to get rid of the poo, and you're now very, very, very much aware that it's, you know, still in your hand. You open the window and you throw it out, kind of disgusted with yourself, but what were you to do? At least it's over. You're washing your hands, you're breathing a sigh of uneasy relief, but then you look out of the window and oh, holy no, there is the poo caught between two panes of glass. What do you do? Panic, panic. Well, this was the real situation that Christine Lampard found herself in after a date with Liam Smith. She did, well, probably one of the bravest things in the history of bravery, and went to tell him what happened. She explained the whole thing, how it wouldn't flush, and how she threw her poo out the window. He went to investigate and, well, there was the poo stuck in a weird twilight zone of double glazing windows. Liam provided pictures to illustrate the story. It's a weird double glazing situation. The pair were gonna try and rescue the poo, agreeing that it couldn't just sit there. This was when Christine had the idea to climb out of the window and try and grab it, bring it back in, and maybe toss it in the bin in his garden. Unfortunately though, she got stuck. She got stuck face down out of a window, reaching for her own poo, and the fire brigade had to be called. They then came and rescued her, but they had to remove the window, which cost £300 to be replaced. Plus the awkward story of why she was hanging out of the window in the first place. Honestly, I can't tell you how glad I am that this wasn't me. I'd be terrified. This is the funniest / worst thing that could happen on a date ever, and hats off to the pair of them. I hope they get married and tell this story forever. Whew, guys, this has been a journey. I don't even know how I feel right now, like maybe not great about online dating, but how is a gal supposed to meet a shining white knight who's prepared to deal with her poo out the window? Honestly, this has been a lot. So do let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm gonna go and just, you know, think about some things long and hard. For now, if you like this video, make sure you give it a good thumbs up, share with a friend, and stay subscribed for more most amazing lists. See you next time.